don't. Okay. I was just so confused. I'm like, well, okay, what does that mean?
Wow.
I think we're all past both of those stages right now at this point.
Right.
And it doesn't make any difference whether or not I have one girlfriend or a station wagon full of them. I'm doing the job.
Exactly.
And being a single man, I didn't really understand, what he was referring to. I did, but it was just kind of like, this is this is such a pile.
Right. No, I can only imagine that. And, you actually, do you think, and I don't know what the events were, if you had stayed as a catcher, and you, from what I've been reading, you were a good outfielder. If you had stayed behind the plate, do you think that would have opened you up a little bit more into the big leagues?
Well, that's one of the reasons why, after I was drafted by the Yankees, and they were telling me before I was drafted, they said that more than likely you're going to go to the outfield because of they don't want to waste your talent behind the plate. And that's just what they told me. And they said, you can run, you can hit, and you can throw. And we're not going to put you behind the plate and ruin your tools. So I went to the outfield. And I had my first year was really rough in Oneonta. I don't know if the Yankees still have a team in Oneonta or not, but that was a real rough time for me that year because I was coming up, and I really wanted to be a catcher, and they just put me in the outfield and said, you're going to be an outfielder. And it's like, okay, now I'm a catcher, drafted as a catcher, and now all of a sudden you're an outfielder. And I had a manager at that time, and I just had a rough time with managers, other than a very few that I had that really could relate to me, and two of them that if you don't mind me mentioning.
Sure.
One was Bucky Dent, and the other one was Buck Showalter.
Wow.
Yeah, Bucky Dent was awesome. And so was Buck Showalter. He talk about
and Buck is kind of a guy that you hear 50-50 on. Buck is a guy that seems like either the players love him or dislike him. And but everywhere he's gone, he's gotten results. Arizona, I know Texas, he had a tough time, but that was more of a talent thing. And now the Orioles obviously have played better on them. So it's interesting that you bring up Buck.
Well, yeah. Well, what you have to know how to take. He's got a real dry sense of humor. He's very intelligent, and the thing about him is that he can be giving you a compliment and also bagging on you at the same time and in the same breath.
Wow.
So he's just, but he's just really dry, but he's really funny though, but he knows what he's talking about, and I just really enjoyed playing for Bucky Dent.
Mm-hmm.
He knew how to handle my personality, and he knew how to push the right buttons and made me work right. And that was, I think that was, that had a lot to do with ongoing in my career when I would come up against, I won't say come up against, but when I would have a manager that was basically just wanted to sit back and not do anything and just kind of sit there. And managers aren't really managers if they just sit back and they don't manage. They're just kind of a letterhead. And they have to know how to handle, 26 or 24, 25 different personalities, and they have to know how to make everything click and mesh. And I think that's what determines a good manager and I guess an average one.
Yeah, I have with me former Mets outfielder Darren Reed. Now, you actually got called up in 1990. You're in the heat of the pennant race. You're with a pretty good team. Strawberry's still on the team. Gooden, Mets, lost out to Pittsburgh that year, but were first place for a while. Talk about that experience. Just you finally get your shot. You get called up. I think you had a home run at one point. Your first big league home run at Wrigley Field late in the year. You get your first big league hit. It must have been at least a little bit of fun. That's one of your highlights there, getting to play for a contender and being part of that team.
Well, my first home run was at Shea, and it was my first home run, and my first triple that were in the same game, and they were at Shea. And so, yeah, it was really exciting, in a pennant race. And I was put in some situations that were really pretty big for me. And with Darryl Strawberry there, and I remember starting a game, and we were in a pennant race, and I'm like, wow, they're really, this is, of course, my butt was puckered, but, and Shea was just rocking, just packed out, and it was crazy playing there. I'll just say that. New York was nuts, and Shea every night was. I mean, it was just. I don't mean this in a bad way, but it was a circus. I mean, every night was different. It was just crazy all the time there.
That's interesting. And look, you got a chance to play a little bit with Montreal. Hit 5 home runs with them over there. And I guess I ask you. I think you were only 30 when you finally hung it up. You were in AAA with Atlanta. Was it at that point you just had enough? I mean, give us a point of view, because a lot of people would say, hey, you hung out maybe a couple more years. Expansion, you obviously could hit. I mean, you had one season, you hit 28 homers in the minors. What made you hang it up at age 30?
Well, it wasn't really that. When I played with Atlanta in AAA, the next year I played in the Northern League when Darryl Strawberry was with the Saints.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was with the Dukes in Duluth, and at that point, I think we had about a month left in the season, and I was having a fantastic season there. I think I was third in the league in hitting. They had switched my position. I had gone back to catching with the Braves. It's funny that you brought that up, and because I had a knee injury, and then they asked me if I wanted to play third base, and I'm like, well, I've never played third base. And Bucky Dent tried me there in Fort Lauderdale when I was 19, just, because he thought that might be a good idea. And it worked out really well. And unfortunately, the night that we were playing the Saints in Duluth, and, Darryl was there, and I was trying to score from first base, and I ruptured my Achilles.
Oh, wow. And that's a year. You're out for a year on that kind of thing.
I was out. Well, I lost an inch of my Achilles in my left leg.
Wow.
And so at that point, that was it. I said, you know what, I just had enough. And it really came at a bad time, because we had just gotten off the road, and Jerry Hunsaker had called me from the press, from his booth, his box in Houston at the time, because he was the GM for the Astros. And he called me in between innings, and the owner of the team in Iowa came down and handed me his cell phone. And I'm like, oh, man, what's up? What's going on? And he says, this is an important phone call for you. And it was Jerry Hunsaker. And he's like, Darren, look, all you have to do is stay healthy. You're having a great year, and we just want to see you stay healthy, and you're going to be in camp next year with us.
Wow.
And I'm like, perfect. Thanks, Jerry. And I think I just hit a grand slam that night. I think it was like 4 for 5 with like 6 RBIs or something like that. It was just really having a great time and a great season. And then we go home, and then I ruptured my Achilles, and that was a big blow.
Wow. So you don't sound bitter. You sound pretty positive. What are you doing now? And do you look back? And was it still all worth it? I mean, you gave up a lot of your life. I mean, you guys, I covered the minor leagues. I know how little you get paid. Now you got a cup of coffee, so that helps with baseball. But would you trade it in? Is there any regrets? I mean, and give us a little idea about where your mindset's at now.
Well, you know what? My mindset right now is matter of fact, a major part of my mindset right now is standing right here next to me, and he wants to say hello to New York. So say hello to New York.
Hi, New York.
What's going on?
That's my son, Hunter.
Is Hunter going to play ball? Are we going to see Hunter Reed on a ball field near us soon?
You know what? Maybe one day, but you know what? It's all up to him. I'm not one of those type of guys that out there with cracking the whip.
Right.
You have to do this. You have to do that. Now his name's Hunter. It's not Darren.
Right. Hunter.
So yeah, I'm not like that. But no, right now I spend a lot of time with him. I spend a lot of time with bicycles. I just started working out again on a regular basis. We were working out. I was working out on a regular basis, and then last year, unfortunately, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Oh, wow.
And so we had to go. We didn't have to. We did go through chemo and radiation for the last year, and so I kind of sidelined everything. So that's been pretty much what we've dealt with for the last